So communication and marketing told us, hey, just make a video. Don't worry, production value doesn't matter. It really kind of does. And I'm sorry that this is so hideous and so ironic in a video where I'm going to try to convince you that art matters. I'm Annie Adams, a professor of English at Morehead State University, where I teach courses in literature and film, so I'm aware of how hideous this frame is. But I want to talk about the beauty of this artist, W.H. Auden, a poet who I think speaks to our present age. Now, it's probably a little strange for me to make reference to him. He, in particular, is known for saying poetry makes nothing happen. And that's really kind of true in the midst of this pandemic. It's not like verse is going to give us a vaccine. But that doesn't mean that poetry is inconsequential at this time, or that we shouldn't be reading literature, that the arts aren't important. I know for a while there was pretty fashionable to fault that first stimulus because it had arts funding, and to say, why are you focusing on that? That's unimportant. We have a real problem. Yeah, but think about it, especially if you're safely sheltered in place, which I hope you are. What's getting you through being safely sheltered in place, distant from so many of the people you interact with? It's your immersion in creative production. We're all playing video games that are largely narrative in nature. We're reading books. We're streaming media, especially movies and television shows like Tiger King. And we're talking about those on social media to one another because we enjoy art. We enjoy talking about art. Art is vital to us at all times, and especially during a crisis, because art is kind of what helps us to explain what it is to be human. It helps us to process our emotions. It gives us a way to think through our values, either to affirm them or to have them challenged. And it allows us to reflect on experiences. And when it's very well done, it can create a new experience. Archibald MacLeish, in his poem Ars Poetica, says, "Poems should not mean but be, and it is that being that allows good poetry to help us create something new." So in Shakespearean terms, we can say that this being matters because we don't know what dreams may come when we cease to be. And as we are the stuff that dreams are made of, we need something that's going to help us navigate our way through life. And we do this particularly, we look to art in the hard times. Think about it, you're going through a really, really, really bad breakup. You're going to go to the lyrics of Lizzo, not a drawing of the Laffer curve on a napkin. So while we are all waiting for the scientific community and for medical professionals to save us, to save our lives, we're also assuming that the life that we're going to walk into is a life of value, that's going to be a quality life. We're going to be able to have things that we enjoy. And art is one of those things. It is the value that we cling to. It's what makes life worth living. So the one thing that I'd kind of hope we all figure out as we go through this pandemic is that when we do eventually emerge, when science is able to help us out, we're able to look at what we want from life and what we can create and the reality that we can bring to fruition. Because lots of times, especially when you're in college, people will tell you, well, study what's real, study what's important, study something to help you in the real world. And usually they'll tell you, well, not the arts, right? No, do something real. So why would you study English when you could, let's say, study economics? No, there's nothing wrong with economics. Just like there's nothing wrong with business. And we need businesses to reopen when this is all over. But keep this in mind. There isn't that big of a difference when we're talking about what the reality is of what we study. As this crisis has really shown, markets exist on faith. And when we look to business futures, sure, we can talk about mathematical models, but you know what else really affects business futures? The stories we tell. Currency, like the literary canon, is a human creation that we imbue with the value we want. That's the reason why it's important that we study everything we value, and that when we do value something, we value it for the right reason. So as I'm here sheltered in place, I think about what I do value, and it's this artist. And for reasons like the tail end of this poem, when he says, "Defenseless under the night, our world in stupor lies. Yet dotted everywhere, ironic points of light flash out wherever the just exchange their messages. May I, composed like them, of arrows and of dust, beleaguered by the same negation and despair, show an affirming flame." I hope I'm showing that flame, especially by staying in place, because I know we're all in this together, because it isn't just about protecting me, it's about protecting others. And this pandemic has shown me a lesson that this poem also conveys, that really we must love one another or die.